Welcome back to the Confessions of a Good Girl, the podcast where good girls come to confess and sovereign women come to stay. Today, we're going to get a little crazy. We've been working our way through the Confess method with some of my personal thoughts, lessons, my favorite guest experts and teachers of mine, girl talk confessional sessions. And I just wanted to sit down today as we wrap up O for overload and enter into the next letter of the Confess method, N for naming, and just give my own confession. So I want to go back to my last big breakthrough that I had. And this really was back in September of 2025. I was so very blessed to be able to go to California for 3 weeks completely solo. No kid, no hubby, just me, my thoughts, and some audiobooks. And I went for a retreat that one of my friends, clients, mentors was putting on. She's all the hats to me. Anna Maria Velasquez, she's at Grow with Anna on Instagram. And she was holding this retreat called the Sacred Pause Retreat. And I also had my immersion weekend with her. I had signed up to do a year of one-on-one coaching with her. And part of that coaching was me doing this immersion weekend. It was a Thursday evening through Sunday morning situation. We got together at an Airbnb and really did some deep healing. She did an energy healing session on me. We pulled so many cards. We took a walk around the Bay Area in California, and we just enjoyed good food and good company, and it was amazing. And then one of the days was like a whole content day that we could like take pictures, and there was a video, and it was just the best experience. And this all like came together at the end of, or pretty close to the end of our one-on-one year together. I've been working with her for about 3 years now. With every single session that I've ever done with any other mentor ever, it's always been around business. Like I've always put that out as the first thing that I want to talk about. I really want to talk about business. I don't want to talk about anything that's going on like too personal, close to the chest. Hello, Scorpio energy. Like let me deal with that shit in private. And then when it's pretty enough, when it's ready enough, when I can control my emotions enough, then I'll bring it out to the pub and we'll talk about it in public. And during this immersion weekend, during this retreat, it was really the first time that I started talking about the real shit that was happening in my day-to-day life, the real things that I was going through, the things that I was dealing with in my Scorpio brain, a Scorpio rising, just to clarify. And I started to soften and heal in different ways that I was never able to experience when I'm bringing only my business to these coaching sessions, only talking about my business as it applies to my life. Every once in a while, of course, I have human things and I'll share about my background, and I'm not shy about that or anything that I've done as a mistake or the lessons that I've learned. Like, I'm not shy about sharing that stuff. I just don't naturally go that way unless I feel like incredibly safe and secure. So, this was the first weekend, the first time that I really got to explore that deeper level of healing. And I've said it before, sometimes you have to come back around to modality. Sometimes you have to come back around to the things that you're not ready to look at yet. Or sometimes you have to come back around to really hearing and embodying the things that you're learning, because there's absolutely a difference between taking in the information and hearing someone say something to actually implementing that in your life and it being something that's fully ingrained in you and you really feel it in your soul, you know? So this whole experience happened. I'm healing deep shit. We're going through like all the mother wounds, and I have this realization that my whole life, I've been trying to show up as the good girl, as the one who carries the load, as the one who does all of everything for everybody, and everybody else's emotions are bigger than mine and more important than mine, and I'm just going to make sure everyone in the whole room is just more taken care of than I have ever felt. And I do this out of a sense of treat others how you want to be treated. So if I treat others with kindness, if I truly love on them, if I truly feel like I'm going to give them everything that they need, then maybe an ounce of that will come back to me, and then I'll be able to feel loved and cared for and supported and safe. It was out of that mentality that came about. And I really got into all of that work in this immersion weekend and in this retreat weekend that was before, and really got to sit with all of this shit, right? And I had this epiphany, this like realization, this complete aha moment that I've been trying so hard to prove myself because of the moment when my mother looked me dead in my eye and told me, I don't want you because you're not a boy and you can't take care of yourself. And I was like, okay, bet I'm going to do that. I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to do it better than you even think that I can't. Like, I'm going to just exceed that expectation of I can't 10 times over, and I'm going to make it even better. And that really pushed me to do things that I maybe wouldn't have done otherwise. Like, yes, it's a horrible thing to say to your child. I also recognize that my mother was 16 years old when she had me, and being a 16-year-old is already hard enough with all the emotions and hormones and the learnings that you still haven't had, the life experience that you still haven't had, and to feel like a door was shut because you had a child, to feel maybe postpartum because you don't know how to deal with that. And back in the 80s, that was not a thing that you talked about. You didn't talk about postpartum. You didn't talk about the fact that you had a choice or whatever. Like, you just did what was expected of you and you just were a mom at 16. So I can understand the mental dynamics and the gymnastics that she had to get over and without having any support. And that being said, that does not excuse that this whole situation happened. I just understand it. And through that understanding, I'm able to see the good that came out of that situation and the person and the resilience that was grown from that. Anywho, I really dealt with that and I sat with it and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really showing up in a masculine energy here, thinking that I have to work for praise. I have to go, go, go. I have to be the breadwinner. I have to carry my family around the world on my back because I need to prove that I can take care of myself, that I'm a woman and I can take care of myself. And I could even do it better than a man could do it. Like, I needed to do that. And just had this like big exhale of I'm so fucking exhausted. Can I just sit down and like receive? Can that be safe? And I really spent the next few months learning that it is. So when I got back from these 3 amazing weeks with my friends and myself, and I got back into real life, it's always hard to integrate lessons into your real life. Like, you go to a retreat, you go to a convention or some kind of seminar, and you hear these motivational speakers and they're talking and it's all high energy. And then you come back to life. And then, like, a weekend, you're just like back to normal routine. The energy has dissipated, right? And that's kind of what it felt like initially. I was just like, okay, I'm going to come back. It's going to be great. I'm going to be like a whole different person because I've healed all these things and I really looked at some shit and really processed it, really dealt with it on like a level where I didn't have any other responsibilities. I didn't have to be a wife. I didn't have to be a mom. I didn't have to do my business. My clients were beyond gracious about me like setting their businesses aside for a little while as I was processing all of this trauma. I have the best clients in the world and got to come back into my life. And I was like, okay, honey, I'm like a whole different person. I'm no longer like going to show up this way. And we had this whole conversation. Communication's key in a marriage, y'all. If you want to hold yourself, you have to show up and tell someone how you're going to be holding yourself, not only so that you can stay accountable to what you've said, but also so that they can set the expectation for you acting differently, right? They're going to be like, what's wrong with her? What's going on? If you just start showing up differently and you're not saying anything, like you need to tell someone, the person that's the most like aware and like in your life. For me, that's my husband, your spouse, your best friend, your parents, whoever you're around consistently in your day-to-day life. You need to kind of give them a heads up. Like, I'm healing, I've healed, I've processed these things. I'm going to be showing up differently. That doesn't mean that I want our relationship to change, but this is what I'm going to be doing going forward. And I just want you to know so that you're not like, what's going on? Because setting the expectation and that communication, key, key, especially being able to hold that frequency. So I came back, had that conversation, and things started to change. I started to feel like I wanted my business to slow down. I wanted to hold it in a softer way. I didn't want to be like 8 to 12 hours a day sitting at my desk. I wanted to lean further into my feminine energy. So I started to do that. I started to build my business back then in a way that felt safer, lighter, more streamlined, very simplified. Like, let's clean out all of the things that aren't here. Let's put those in archive or throw them away or whatever that looked like. And let's really streamline this. So I streamlined my business and I started showing up in more feminine energy. I started taking a nap because I felt tired, stopping when I felt like I wanted to take a break instead of pushing through and keep going. And then I've now worked for 2 extra hours. I started playing more with my son. I started cooking. I know that sounds insane to say, but I really was holding that masculine energy. I don't cook at all. I haven't done the dishes in probably 15 years. That is my confession for this episode. I have not done my dishes in 15 years. My husband does the dishes. He's he's done the dishes our entire marriage, our entire relationship. Yes, I've done the dishes a couple of times probably in that 15 years. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but I would say I've done the dishes no more than 1 month. Yeah, I feel confident in saying that. I would bet money on that. No more than about a month's worth of time have I done the dishes in the last 15 years. And I don't cook really ever. I have like 5 ethnic meals that I cook, and they're really freaking delicious and they're really good. And I cook them maybe once a year, maybe twice. Other than that, my husband does all of the cooking and all of the dishes, and I do the laundry and keep the rest of the house clean. But he does all of that kitchen things. Kitchen things. So I started cooking more, is my point here. Can you tell I'm a rambler? So I started cooking. I started being more present with my own body, with my own feelings, and started building the softer business, right? And then in January, I was part of a community with another mentor of mine, Kelly Brock, and she came to the call and she said, today we're going to do a visualization. We're going to pretend that we're on an airplane. That's what the visualization was. We're going to be on an airplane. Imagine that you're on this airplane and you're flying through the sky and everything is going great and you're going to a vacation or wherever you're going. And all of a sudden, you start to experience some turbulence and you're going down and the air drops from the ceiling and you look to your left or your right, whichever side, and you see someone, and this is your guide through this visualization. And I saw my great grandma B, and she was sitting there being very stoic. And she said, now this person is going to gift you 1 more year of life. And you can choose to take that 1 year of life, or you can die in this plane crash right now. And through this whole experience, not only was this super like emotional for me because we travel the world, I'm constantly in an airplane. And since becoming a mother, airplane rides have suddenly become terrifying. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that my child is on this plane with me, or that I wouldn't be a part of my child's life if they weren't, because plane crash, but plane rides have significantly become more traumatic since becoming a mother. Before I was just like, whatever. Either way, that whole scenario was playing out in my head, along with the fact that we're given this year left to live. And what do you want to do with it? What do you want to be? What do you want to leave as your legacy? What do you want people to remember about you? What do you want them to feel? All of these big things, right? And I just sat with that. And I sat with it for a bit. And then it came out, my love for supporting women and children from domestic abuse situations, domestic violence situations, and also my love for supporting veterans. I am a military daughter of several military family members. I grew up on a military base in Sierra Mesa, California, and I'm very patriotic at heart. And it really matters to me that these veterans are taken care of, that these women of domestic violence, these children of domestic violence are taken care of. So I wanted to create some kind of momentum and memory around that. So I started playing with this idea of a business for women of domestic violence. And that really hit, it really felt good. And through all of this, I'm just like circling, right? I'm just like spinning around a drain, just like going round and round and round. And it feels so good, but nothing's really truly landing, right? So then I decided I'm going to just say the thing that is big and scary in my mind to my mentor. So I jumped on WhatsApp with my mentor and I just sent her a message and I was just like, I'm spinning around all of this energy of I want to remain in my feminine. I'm done holding everything for everyone. I'm done with this masculine energy. I'm done like wanting to be the breadwinner. I'm done wanting to hold all of the shit. And I just want to have more ease and more harmony and more depth and groundedness in my life. And parts of me are thinking like maybe I should go back to a regular 9 to 5 job. Maybe I should just put down the business and just get something that's more consistent and just be in that for a little bit. Part of me is thinking that that's somehow me letting everybody down. Like I have all these big lofty goals. I have all this drive and this ambition. And I hear people all the time telling me, Audrey, you need to share your story. You're going to change the world. Like you're going to really be this big energy in the world. And saying, I don't know if I want to hold that anymore. I feel like I want to put that down is terrifying. It feels like letting down every person who really backs me. Every person that I really feel understands me and gets me and like sees me and not a facade. I'm letting down those people by saying, I know I could like create this big movement and really change the world, but I'm kind of just want a regular job and I kind of just want to like not. And I kind of want to just homeschool my son and maybe like learn to cook something other than my 5 regular meals that I cook and maybe just like take a nap and read a book and like have a little bit of an easier life and just let someone else carry it for a little while. So she sent me a message back and she said, Audrey, your purpose isn't going anywhere. It's always going to be here for you. You do not need to hold it all of the time. If you need to set it down, if you need to take a break, if you need to experience something else in this phase of life, do that. Your purpose is not going to disappear because you decided that you wanted to take a nap or take 6 months off. Your purpose is always going to be there, whether you're working towards it or not. You still have purpose. And I was just like, okay. And then she's like, and you're not letting anyone down because you decided you need to sit down for a second, that you decided that right now you need to focus here. Everybody's journey is different. And everybody's journey has the lessons that we need. And if you're feeling like you need a lesson in how to sit still, then that's okay. That's the lesson that you need to learn right now. And it was just so comforting to have that permission. Not that I needed her permission to know that, but to be able to release that shame in me because as a people pleaser, as a good girl, I was constantly seeking outside validation. So in the healing process, sometimes we need validation to understand that it's okay for us to do that. So at the end of this message, she said, what I think would be really cool is what if you just like didn't do anything in your business? What if you did take a break? What if you said no to new clients that are coming through? What if you didn't pick up any new business ideas for a while? What if you just sat in silence? And I was like, no, that sounds uncomfortable as fuck, but thanks. No. And then I sat with it a little bit longer and I was like, I remember one of my old clients, Erin, she went to a retreat from my mentor, Kelly Brock, and it was called Presence. And she came back and she told me, she was like, we spent over 24 hours just in complete silence. And it was absolutely life changing. And the moment that Anna told me that I should sit in silence was the moment that that memory with Erin came into my mind about how beneficial the silence was for her. And I was like, okay, maybe I will give this a try. Maybe I will sit in silence. We'll just see how this goes. I can't go to a private island. I don't really have the money right now to go like get my own Airbnb or go to a hotel by myself, even for 24 hours. Let's just not spend money on things that are frivolous right now because I was trying to lessen business coming in. So I didn't have the overflow of clients that I usually have. So money was a little bit tighter. And I just wanted to find something that was budget friendly, right? So I was like, what if instead of immediately reaching for my phone, what if instead of immediately reaching for my Kindle or my audiobook, what if I just force myself to be in silence for a little bit? And if my mind starts going around and around and around, what if I just listened to the furthest sound and the closest sound and the furthest sound and the closest sound? What if I just tried? For 2 solid months, I sat in silence as often as I could. 3, 4, 1 time a day, whatever fit into my life, I would try for silence. Anytime that I felt myself seeking, reaching, overthinking any of these like immediate stress responses, I would pause and listen. Even if my little boy was talking in the background, even if the TV was on, even if like other things were happening and I was out in public, I would just myself be silent and listen. And then one morning I woke up and I got a whole download about how the last 5, 7, 10 years of my life have been this method, this confess method that's really come through me. And I started to look back at all these lessons. I called the last 10 years because it's really when all of this really started. Like I've been doing healing pretty much my entire life, but the deep, true level of healing, 10, 10-ish years. Really deep level of healing, 5-ish years. And then the most within the last probably 3 years. And I was like, okay, well, this is what I did first, and this is what I did second, and then this came in, and then this had to happen. And then there was this level of self-trust that needed to be there. And then through all of this, I was able to become sovereign. I was able to become a woman who owns her truth, who says the thing, who owns that she's uncomfortable, but still will say it anyway, will be present with her own emotions and with herself. And that's where the Confess Method was born. That's the journey that it took to get me there. And a lot of realizations around what I wanted and what I need and trusting myself, trusting my intuition, trusting the silence. It was a lot. And I'm so very, very grateful for each of those moments. It's been a whirlwind last 9, 10 months, right? And I feel like I birthed a whole new human. And that human is the real, most sovereign version of myself that I have been to date. And I am so very excited to see how I grow and change and evolve into the even more realist version of me because we're always changing and evolving and growing. And I love that, the depth that we all have. So that's my latest confession. That's the good of what's been happening in my life for the last 8 months, 9 months. And I'm really excited to dive further in to where this confess method is going. We've talked about conditioning, we've talked about overload. Next, we're going to talk about naming, we're going to get into feeling, and then we're going to get into embodiment tools. And I'm excited about embodiment tools. Obviously, that's the fun one. We got all sorts of things in there. Uh, it's my most dense letter inside the confess method because of all of the different types of modalities that I've tried. And I wanted to include all of them or most of the ones that I've used, or at least the most effective ones that I've used, because something different will work for every single person. And I don't want you to not know about a method because it's not very mainstream or because you haven't seen it in your feed before. I really wanted to make as much available as possible in a way that wasn't overwhelming, right? And then we get into self-trust and then finally sovereignty. And this whole method, if you've grabbed the confess method, which, like I said, is at the link in the show notes, always is, then we move through the 3E Trinity, and that is embodiment, environment, and entrepreneurship. These are the three main areas of the lives of women that I work with. So we have our own embodiment. This is where we talk about ourselves, our sovereignty, our own self-trust, our own intuition, our own healing journey. This is how we embody all of that in our internal selves, right? Then we have environment. And environment is the home you live in, the friends that you have, the family that you surround yourself with, the people that you interact with, the places that you go. How is that equal in vibration to you? Or what do you have to shift to equalize the vibration? Because I truly believe that if you are at a high vibration and you enter a room at a low vibration, you cannot hold your high vibration. Your vibration will go down to meet the vibration of the room that you are in because you're in this space, and what we surround ourselves with, we become. So if you can raise the vibration of the room around you, you can raise the vibration that you can continue to hold. Then we go into entrepreneurship. And this was a big one for me because this is what I held for so long. Like when I went to see every single mentor, I would only talk about business. And the same thing with environment. If you're not holding a high vibration to your business, you're going to go down to the vibration that your business is holding. There's a lot of nervous system work here. There's a lot of conscious vibration here. And I wanted this to all be a part of it. So there's the 3E Trinity that will take you through how your embodiment can be applied to your environment and to your entrepreneurship. And that's the full confess method with the 3E Trinity. And now you know a little bit more about where that all birthed from and why it matters so much to me. This really is a life experience led PDF. Like, this wasn't something that I just popped into an AI and was like, spit out something I can sell. No, this really is something that I lived my life through. I went through every single one of these modalities. Every single thing in this PDF is something that I've experienced, used, or have found helpful in my journey, which is why I include at the bottom all of the references. I cited my resources. I list out my mentors that I worked with. I list out the people that I learned from. I list out the books, the modalities, the people that came up with the things that I talk about in the PDF. There's a whole guide at the end where you can dive further into this training with the people that I've actually learned it from. So it's not just something that AI created and I spit out. It's 67 pages of pure gold and life experience and trial and error and lessons in life with amazing mentors and guides. So, like I said, if you're wanting to be a part of this journey as we dive deeper into the Confess method, again, starting soon with N for naming, go ahead and grab it at the link in the show notes. But until then, let's pull today's card. So, I talked about this a little bit, but I love the idea of pulling a card for each episode and just seeing how it ties in. I love me a good card pull. This deck is it's called The Wild Unknown Archetypes and it's by Kim Kranz. Okay, so if you're on YouTube, you can see the creator. If you are not, go to the show notes and you can find the card details and the deck link will be in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss new episodes drop every Thursday. And again, don't forget to grab the Confess method as well when you pop down to check out those card details. And remember, we do not confess to be forgiven, we confess to be free. Till next time.